Republicans are Nazis. You cannot separate yourselves from the bad white people.
Growing up, I never thought much about race. It never really seemed to matter that much, at least not to me.
Am I racist?
I would really appreciate it if you left.
I'm trying to learn. I'm on this journey.
If I'm going to sort this out, I need to go deeper undercover.
They gon' say I'm racist.
Joining us now is Matt, certified DEI expert.
Here's my certification.
And what you're doing is you're stretching out of your whiteness. This is more for you and less for you. Is America inherently racist?
The word inherent is challenging there.
I want to rename the George Washington Monument to the George Floyd Monument.
America is racist to its bones.
So inherently.
Yeah, this country is a piece of
White.
Folks,
White.
trash.
White supremacy.
White woman. White boy.
Is there a black person around here? There's a black person right here. Does he not
They gon'
exist?
say I'm racist.
Hi, Robin.
Hi, what's your name?
I'm Matt.
Just had to ask who you are because you have to be careful.
Never be too careful.
They gon' say you racist.
Buy your tickets now. In theaters September 13th. Rated PG-13.
Well, folks, Kamala Harris is doing it. She's doing it. We are now on day 27 of answering 0 questions as the de facto Democratic nominee. And that is an amazing accomplishment in and of itself, that she's been able to go almost an entire month without answering a single adversarial question this entire time, because her campaign is 2 things: free money and joy. Those are the things: free money, joy, and 0 questions whatsoever. She now says that she will commit to 2 presidential debates. Now, normally you have 3 presidential debates, but she is very huffy about having 3 presidential debates. The last thing she wants is that her positions be exposed before the American public as the communism light that they are, economically speaking, and the absolute sheer weakness and cowardice of her foreign policy. She doesn't want that exposed on stage, so she's going to minimize this as much as humanly possible. Yesterday, Team Harris said that they would have 3 debates total. They'd have 1 VP debate between Tim Walz and J.D. Vance. Makes sense, because the last thing they want is J.D. Vance just tearing Tim Walz a new one over and over and over. As we will see, Tim Walz is a horrible vice presidential pick. What they really don't want is a repeat performance of Kamala Harris in front of the public. See, it took many debate performances in 2019, 2020 for her to come completely apart, for the wheels to come off the Kamala Harris bus. And so what they're hoping is that the less you see of Kamala Harris, the more you will like her, which, frankly, is a good strategy, because the more you see of her, the more you dislike her. They put out a statement yesterday after Donald Trump had suggested that there'd be 3 presidential debates, just like normal, because the last candidate, died. So he has said, why don't we have 3 presidential debates? She said, no, won't do it. Quote, the debate about debates is over. I like that they can just declare this. They can just randomly declare that the debate about the debates is over. That doesn't have any sort of totalitarian overtones. Donald Trump's campaign accepted our proposal for 3 debates, 2 presidential and a vice presidential debate. Assuming Donald Trump actually shows up on September 10th to debate Vice President Harris, Governor Walz will see J.D. Vance on October 1st, and the American people will have another opportunity to see the vice president and Donald Trump on the debate stage in October. Now, what Democrats know is that they're going to ramp up the early voting as fast as humanly possible, and so by the time you hit October, half of their votes are already going to be in the can. Kamala Harris continues, voters deserve to see the candidates for the highest office in the land share their competing visions for the future. The more they play games, the more insecure and unserious Trump and Vance reveal themselves to be. To the American people, those games end now. The only campaign that's been playing games about the debates has been the Kamala Harris campaign, because Donald Trump made a commitment to Joe Biden, who is no longer the actual nominee. Kamala Harris wasn't involved in those particular negotiations, and then playing games to try and pretend that Trump is running away from them, when in reality, they are running as fast as humanly possible away from Donald Trump and J.D. Vance, because they do not want to be in the public eye. And the reason they don't want to be in the public eye is because they've got nothing. They've got absolutely nothing. They just pasted a new face on the same old terrible Joe Biden agenda, and they're hoping that nobody notices that. Now, they do have a problem, and that is that the ghost of Joe Biden is now haunting Kamala Harris. What the Harris campaign would prefer is for Joe Biden to go back into the crypt where he is kept every night and just to stay there. That is what they would prefer. They would prefer that no one associate Kamala Harris with Joe Biden, which would be quite a feat, considering that Kamala Harris would be an obscure no-name California senator like Alex Padilla, if it were not for the fact that Joe Biden picked her up from the scrap heap of American politics and made her vice president on the basis of DEI qualifications. She is only famous because of Joe Biden. She's only a national figure because of Joe Biden. And by the way, from day one, he said this is the Biden-Harris White House. He said she was intimately involved in every decision. So she is tied at the hip to his policies, which is something that Joe Biden himself said. Peter Doocy asked him about it. And he said, she's not going to distance herself from my economic policies. By the way, he is right. The only economic policies she has are his.
How much does it bother you that Vice President Harris might soon, for political reasons, start to distance herself from your economic
She's not going to.
You don't think she's going to? Mr. President.
He said she's not going to do it. He's very adamant. She's not going to do it. She's not going to do it. That's a problem for Kamala Harris because it turns out most people don't actually like her economic policies. In fact, recent polls showed 52% of Americans do not think America should move in the direction of California. And yet the same polls are showing that 52% of Americans are going to vote for Kamala Harris. What's the disconnect? She's hiding her policies. She's hiding herself. Instead, she's smearing it over with a pastiche of joy. A pastiche of joy. We'll get to the joy component in just a moment. Biden, however, will not let this thing go. Kamala Harris is trying to hide everything about herself. It's all masquerading as joy, but I'll tell you where economic joy truly lies. Not spending that much on your cell phone company. There's only one cell phone company that gives you free premium access to the media you actually care about. It is Pure Talk. This might be the best offer Pure Talk has ever come out with. Listen to this one. When you switch your cell phone service to Pure Talk on a qualifying plan, you get a free 1-year insider subscription to Daily Wire Plus. That is correct. Take advantage of unlimited talk, unlimited text, 15 gigs of data, and mobile hotspot on America's most dependable 5G network for just $35 a month. And you'll get 1 year free of Daily Wire Plus. The Daily Wire Plus insider plan gets you access to our entire library of movies, series, and documentaries, including Lady Ballers, What is a Woman, Mr. Bertram, Run, Hide, Fight, and more. Plus, you'll get all our daily shows uncensored and ad-free. The only way you can get this special offer is by going to puretalk.com/Shapiro. I've been telling you to stop overpaying for your cell phone plan for a very long time. If you haven't made the switch over to Pure Talk yet, now would be the time. Go to puretalk.com/Shapiro today. Switch to a qualifying plan. Get 1 year free of Daily Wire Plus Insider. That's puretalk.com/Shapiro. Again, puretalk.com/Shapiro today. This is one of the big dangers for the Democrats is, again, the ghost of Joe Biden just hovering around the hallways of the Kamala Harris campaign, every so often jumping out of the closet to go, boo! In fact, a Fox News reporter said, yeah, Joe Biden was so concerned to let me know that he was connected with Kamala Harris that he grabbed my arm.
Bidenomics continues to Vice President Harris. There's no military assault. The economy is going to continue with all those legislation taxes working. In case you haven't noticed, it's working.
Yeah, he grabbed my arm in that answer. The president saying that the Vice President Kamala Harris will not distance herself from the current economic policies.
Now, the reality is that she is attempting to distance herself from Joe Biden while embracing even more communistic and socialistic policies. And she wants to have it both ways. She wants to both say that she was deeply embedded in Bidenomics and also she has no responsibility for Bidenomics. So yesterday, she had to do a very awkward rally with Joe Biden, and it was indeed an awkward rally. And Joe Biden was out there touting Bidenomics, which, of course, is wildly unpopular. But he was saying things that she can't dissociate with because she actually requires the same voters that Biden had in the bag. So here was Joe Biden rallying with Kamala Harris yesterday, saying everyone does better with more unions. I mean, if that were true, then there would be more than 7% of the workforce currently unionized in the private sector. It is eminently untrue. In fact, everyone does significantly worse with large-scale unions. In the United States, consumers get absolutely screwed. Industries turn into zombie industries subsidized by the federal government. This is the story of the car industry in the 1960s and 70s in the United States. But here is Joe Biden trying to make sure that he's got those union voters in the bag for Kamala Harris.
There's more we can do for everyone. We can't give up. They told me every major piece of legislation we passed to give us the strongest economy in history and the strongest economy in the world. We got more to do for working people. By the way, everybody does better when there's more unions.
That is eminently untrue. As any business person will tell you, that is not true. Sometimes unions are good. The vast majority of the time, unions make demands that actually bankrupt the businesses they're supposed to be negotiating with. Meanwhile, Kamala Harris was campaigning with Joe Biden, and more of this, frankly. I think Republicans should be tying Kamala Harris to Joe Biden because, again, she is only famous. She is only a prominent political figure. She's only a Democratic nominee because she was put in power by Joe Biden and she promptly turned around and stabbed him directly in the neck. Here she was at this rally bragging about her tie-breaking vote on the Inflation Reduction Act. So she doesn't want to own the inflationary record of the Biden administration, but she brags about being one of the people who was the deciding factor in the so-called Inflation Reduction Act, which was one factor in the 40-year highs in inflation we have seen under this terrible administration.
2 years ago, as vice president, I was proud to cast the tie-breaking vote that sent the bill that gave Medicare the power to negotiate to get to the president's desk, and I was proud when our president, Joe Biden, signed that bill into law.
God, she's awful. She is just plain awful. And now she's spelling out more of her communistic policies. So, as of today, she's going to call on Congress to pass a federal ban on price gouging as part of her economic platform, according to Politico, to lower grocery prices and everyday costs. That action, to be announced during a speech in North Carolina, is among others she will take in her first 100 days in office to lower high grocery costs, according to a campaign official granted anonymity to discuss policy ahead of an official announcement. And the fact that we are now 27 days in to her campaign and there is no policy on her website, none, zero, is pretty impressive, frankly speaking. This is idiot policy. Passing federal laws on price gouging on groceries is idiot policy. The reality is that in the grocery industry, profit margins are well under 2%. There's very, very little profit margin in the grocery industry because it's really competitive. There are tons of groceries. There's tons of supply. There is no shortage of food in the United States. And so the idea that it is monopolistic companies price gouging people, and that's why the prices have gone up, is insane. First of all, price gouging in general is almost always crap because the reality is that prices are determined by supply and demand. I can't gouge you on price unless I'm the only supplier available in a really, really wide radius. No competition is available. And you are willing to buy at the price that I set. That is the only way I can, quote unquote, price gouge you. But there is no actual definition for price gouging because it turns out that according to Democrats, price gouging is just prices they don't like because it makes them look bad politically. If she believes that she is going to bring down prices through price controls, this has been tried. It is Soviet-style policy. It is Cuban-style policy. It is Venezuelan-style policy. Simply declaring that the price of a product shall be X does not guarantee the widespread availability of that product. In fact, what it leads to is a spur in demand and a reduction in supply. That is what price controls do. Price controls mean more people want the thing because now it's cheaper, and fewer people are willing to produce the thing because now there is no profit in producing the thing. Very often, there's actual loss in producing the thing, and people do not produce things at a loss. This is why price controls lead to bread lines. And I know Bernie Sanders thinks bread lines are great. Bread lines are wonderful because that means you're just in a line for bread. What could be but a bread line? Sounds great. But it's actual terrible policy. Every economist understands, right, left, center, unless you're like a full-scale Marxist, that price controls are some of the worst policy you could possibly implement, and obviously she's pushing it because she is of the opinion that Americans are too stupid to understand what price controls are. Now, Kamala Harris isn't stupid enough to believe in price controls, or maybe she is. One way she might not believe in that if she had gone to maybe Grand Canyon University. Grand Canyon University is a private Christian university in beautiful Phoenix, Arizona. GCU believes we are endowed by our Creator with certain unalienable rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. GCU believes in equal opportunity and that the American dream starts with a purpose. GCU equips you to serve others in ways that promote human flourishing and create a ripple effect of transformation for generations to come. By honoring your career calling, you impact your family, your friends, and your community. Whether you're pursuing a bachelor's, master's, or doctoral degree, GCU's online, on-campus, and hybrid learning environments are designed to help you achieve your unique academic, personal, and professional goals. With over 330 academic programs as of December 2023, GCU meets you where you are and provides a path to help you fulfill your dreams. The pursuit to serve others is yours. Find your purpose at Grand Canyon University. Private, Christian, affordable. Visit gcu.edu. That's gcu.edu. She believes that Americans are so dumb that they think that the federal government can simply, by passing a law, make prices go down. It's very much reminiscent of something called the Kellogg-Briand Pact of 1928. In 1928, it's also called the Paris Accords at the time. In 1928, a bunch of countries in Europe got together, including Germany and the UK and France. They all got together and they outlawed war in 1928. And you know how it worked out? Not amazing if you know your history, because it turns out that the 1930s followed, and that included World War II, the bloodiest war in human history. It turns out you can't outlaw war simply by passing a diplomatic piece of paper saying we outlaw war. And you can't lower prices simply by saying that you wish prices to be lower and then setting price controls. In fact, you usually end up with precisely the reverse of what it is you are seeking. And Kamala Harris is not that stupid. She knows that. But according to Politico, of course, it's a political move, right? Elevated everyday costs have plagued the Biden-Harris administration since Americans' grocery bills spiked during the pandemic. Even with some promising recent polling, most major voter surveys show President Biden and Harris well behind former President Donald Trump on the economy. Harris has tried to level set with voters about the pain of high food costs in recent campaign speeches, something progressive and battleground district Democrats on Capitol Hill have said they wish Biden would have addressed earlier in his presidency. Harris's proposals show how she would expand Biden's focus on price gouging and food costs, according to the plans detailed by her campaign. In addition to her push for the first ever federal ban on price gouging by food corporations, she would also direct the Federal Trade Commission and state attorneys general to investigate and levy penalties on food companies that violate the federal ban, which again is insane. This is insane. Food is not more expensive because the bread companies decided randomly to raise the prices in collusion with one another. Food is more expensive because the Federal Reserve pumped money into the economy at a rate unprecedented in human history, and then the Biden-Harris administration decided to jack more money into the system. They thought it was good. Ezra Klein famously wrote a piece a couple of years ago lamenting the fact that inflation had resulted because it said, modern monetary theory, the idea that you can just pump money into the economy, was really good for people at the lower end of the spectrum. It was eviscerating income inequality because you were just helicoptering money on people. And then, unfortunately, it resulted in inflation. Of course it resulted in inflation. When you helicopter money on people, it doesn't make things worth more inherently. It just means the price of everything goes up. If I give everybody in the United States $10 extra, no one is any richer. It just means the prices go up by $10. That's all that happens. Because supply and demand. Ooh. These people. It's amazing to believe that we are led by such dullards. But they're not dull. They know exactly what they're doing. And in fact, in the middle of an inflationary spiral, she has another proposal. This one is on housing. Guess what it is? Wait for it. It's free money. I know you weren't expecting it. Free money from Democrats in the middle of a $30 trillion national debt? No, they would never do such a thing. Our national debt currently runs at, according to Truth in Accounting, some $35 trillion. The actual truth, in terms of unfunded liabilities, like Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, is more like $156 trillion. So things are going amazing here in this United States. And Kamala Harris and company, they are ready to dump more money into the system. According to Jeff Stein, the White House economics reporter for The Washington Post, Kamala Harris is now proposing $25,000 in federal assistance for first-time home buyers going to 1.4 million people. Quote, many Americans work hard at their jobs, save and pay their rent on time month after month, but they can't save enough after paying their rent and other bills to save for a down payment, denying them a shot at owning a home and building wealth. As the Harris-Walz plan starts to expand the supply of entry-level homes, they will, during their first term, provide working families who have paid their rent on time for 2 years and are buying their first home up to $25,000 in down payment assistance, with more generous support for first-generation homeowners. The Biden-Harris administration initially proposed providing $25,000 in down payment assistance only for 400,000 first-generation homebuyers, or homebuyers whose parents don't own a home, and a $10,000 tax credit for first-time homebuyers. Vice President Harris's plan will simplify and significantly expand that plan by providing up to $25,000 for all eligible first-time homebuyers, while still calling for a significant addition for first-generation homeowners. It will expand the reach of down payment assistance, allowing over 4 million first-time buyers over 4 years to get significant down payment assistance on average of $25,000 to get the funds they need to buy a first home. So what is that? That is helicoptering $25,000 of cash to people who want to buy a first home. Now, I have no idea what the provisions on creditworthiness are here, because it turns out they're going to flush a bunch of that money down the toilet if you are simply giving people money who cannot afford to actually pay for the mortgage. The down payment is only part of what you're paying when you pay for a house. There's upkeep, there's mortgage. Turns out owning a home, kind of expensive, which is why a lot of people rent right now. But according to Kamala Harris, it is time for the federal government to simply helicopter cash over people. She is pairing this, supposedly, with tax credits to get people to build 3 million new units. The problem, of course, is that she presumably will attempt to rent control all of those units. She will attempt to price control all of those units. So on the one hand, she will give, and on the other hand, she will take. Now, all of this market interventionism is simply a sop to people who want free stuff from the federal government. And by the way, it ain't free. We all get to pay for it, or rather, all our children get to pay for it. She is also proposing a $6,000 tax credit for new parents. Now, remember, when J.D. Vance proposes a tax credit for new parents in order to increase the number of children being born in the United States, then that is sexist and horrifying. When Kamala Harris does it, it's genius and wonderful. The difference between the two proposals, I would assume, is that J.D. Vance's proposal actually has some work requirements attached to it, because we would like to see people be able to support their kids beyond a $6,000 tax credit. One of the things Democrats tried to do by increasing these payments during the pandemic was basically make them universal without any work requirements whatsoever, essentially implementing a universal basic income. According to Axios, the economic plan includes tax cuts for middle-class families, including a $6,000 child tax credit for families during the first year of a kid's life, when expenses go up and income often goes down while a parent steps out of the workforce for childcare. Harris, echoing Joe Biden, wants to bring back 2021's expanded child tax credit, which was $3,600 per child under age 5 and $3,000 for those older under the American Rescue Plan. There were no work provisions under the American Rescue Plan. And so what it ended up being was just free money helicoptered to people who then had a tough time supporting the kids on the other end of that payment. For lower income adults who aren't raising kids, the proposal would expand the earned income tax credit as well. So, just in case you're wondering, this is not about getting more Americans to have kids because we have birth rates that are too low. What it really is about is just giving people cash. It's just handing cash out the door. Not her cash, understand. She's never earned a dime. She's been a complete useless person on the taxpayer dime for virtually her entire career. What this is about is using your money to pay off her political constituents. That's what this is about, always and forever. Always. I mean, it's terrible economic policy. It truly is. Again, this sort of stuff is for stupid people. It is economic policy that was dropped on its head as a baby. And yet Wall Street seems to be willing to dump money on her. Why? And the answer is because Wall Street is always trying to get in bed with the person they think is most powerful. The thing to understand about Wall Street is that one of the great failures of Wall Street and of big business in general, they are not capitalist by nature. They are profit-seeking. There is a difference. Profit-seeking means that you will find money wherever it lies. So if the best way to make a profit as a business is to get in bed with corrupt Democrats, you'll do it. You'll rig the system for your own benefit if you can make a profit. Well, Wall Street very often is trying to rig the system for its own benefit. What you need is an unrigged system like Prize Picks. It's football season, which means now is a perfect time to join Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the best way to win real money this football season. Make your picks in less than 60 seconds. Turn your sports opinions into real money all season long. On Prize Picks, it's just you against the numbers. All you do is pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch those winnings roll in. Plus, now you can win up to 100 times your money on Prize Picks with as little as 4 correct picks. That means you can turn $10 into $1,000. Cook up hot takes with your friends. Win real money this football season when you and your crew run your game on Prize Picks. Sign up today. Get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. And for every week in September, one Caleb Williams passing yard gets you 1 win on Prize Picks. That is right. Only 1 yard gets you an automatic win every football weekend in September. That is 4 weeks of free W's. Hurry, because when September ends, so does that deal. Producer Jake loves Prize Picks. It allows him to enjoy his weekends by making entries on his favorite players. He raves about the easy-to-use interface. Available in over 30 states across the country, including California, Texas, and Georgia. Get in on the daily action with your friends. Become part of the Prize Picks community today. Download that Prize Picks app today. Use code BEN for a first deposit match up to $100. That's code BEN on Prize Picks for a deposit match up to $100. Prize Picks. Run your game. A capitalistic company is one that will not do those things. If you're a capitalist, you say, I'm not interested in getting in bed with the government because I know that whenever anyone gets in bed with the government, they end up getting screwed. That's the nature of the bargain. And we don't want the government picking winners and losers. But that's not what a lot of Wall Street does. A lot of Wall Street is perfectly willing to get in bed with the government so long as it benefits their firm at the expense of all the other firms, which is corporatism. It is not capitalism. And then when that system inevitably falls on its face because the government is bad at picking winners and losers, when those bubbles always burst, capitalism gets blamed. It's one of the perversities of the way that our system of government works under a mixed economy. Mixed economy meaning free market for some parts and government-sponsored, subsidized, and run for other parts. Whenever there's a failure, the free market gets blamed, and then more government interventionism, then the government fails, and then the free market gets blamed some more. That's the perverse cycle that our government works through, and our media, and unfortunately a lot of Wall Street. According to Politico, enthusiasm surged in the week since Harris took over from President Joe Biden, who was hemorrhaging support with high-dollar donors. It took less than a month for Harris to smash former President Donald Trump's cash advantage. She did it without offering many details on her economic policy. Business leaders, from Lazard President Ray McGuire to Blackstone Group President Jonathan Gray, lined up behind her as she erased Trump's lead in the polls. Former Goldman Sachs CEO Lloyd Blankfein told Politico the business-friendly policies offered by Trump are attractive to Wall Street, no doubt. But many players find other aspects of the Trump package unrelated to finance overwhelmingly negative. Like most people, folks in finance weigh a variety of interests and concerns and may find the lesser-known Harris more attractive than the Trump they know. Okay, in reality, it's not about them loving abortion so much on Wall Street that they are willing to dump their economic interests on the side. The answer is they believe that they can buy exceptions to the rules for themselves. And so far, that's worked. They did this with Barack Obama as well. Didn't hurt them at all. They were able to make bank off the Federal Reserve's loose monetary policy. Firms like Goldman Sachs made a ton of money by working with the Treasury Department and the Federal Reserve in order to facilitate expansion or decrease in the money supply. So, of course, they're going to support the person they think is going to win. Okay, again, all of this is terrible economic policy. All of it is going to lead to economic stagnation at best. But Kamala has a plan. You're not going to hear any answers about this. You're going to know nothing about this because she's got one thing. She's got joy. Now, I know that when you think of Kamala Harris and that rictus smile that she likes to lay on the American people, you don't think joy. You think more like Joaquin Phoenix in Joker, like a pathological, bizarre laugh that breaks out at all the wrong times. But the media have recast her campaign as a campaign of joy, a campaign of happiness and wonder, childlike innocence. And so the only interview that she has done so far is an interview with her vice president, Tim Walz, on MSNBC. See, they didn't even bother to have an interviewer ask her questions. Instead, they had the person she picked from obscurity ask her questions about stupid crap so they could laugh and smile at each other in the most awkward, smug, and off-putting way. I mean, it's just the smarm factor here is off the chart. It really is off the charts. It's insane.
I'm looking at Coach Walz.
I have white guy tacos and
What is
like
that?
black,
Like mayonnaise and tuna? What are you doing?
pretty much ground beef and cheese.
That's okay. Do you
Yeah.
put any flavor in it?
No.
Oh.
Here's the deal. No, they said to be careful and let her know this, that black pepper is the top of the spice level in Minnesota, you know.
I'm the first vice president, I believe, who has ever grown chili peppers.
I'm trying to expand
We'll figure
my food knowledge.
You know what? We've got some cantaloupes. You'll be fine.
Yeah.
And he's bowing before her superior food knowledge because she's just an amazing cook. That's the one thing we've learned. She's given recipes in the past. By the way, not racist at all. When the black vice president and presidential candidate is talking about the lack of flavor palette for white people because white people have no flavor palette. Apparently, white people hate spices. I mean, apparently, a white people taco is tuna and mayonnaise. That's because white people don't like spicy food at all. Which is presumably why between the 15th and 17th centuries, multiple European countries fought a series of wars over the spice route and the spice trade because they hate spices so darned much. So it's all stupidity, and it's all meant for the consumption of morons. And if you buy into the joy, if you buy into the Barack Obama-like selfie stick presidency, H.L. Mencken suggested that democracy is the theory that the common people know what they want and deserve to get it good and hard. All right, I mean, if this is what you want, this is what you're going to get. But we should mention something about this whole joy routine. You should not find joy in your politicians. You should not. That is not where joy comes from. Joy comes from your family. Joy comes from your community. Joy comes from your religious commitment. Joy comes from your virtuous action in the world with meaning and purpose. That's where joy comes from. Apparently, according to Kamala Harris and company, joy comes from fealty to the Democratic Party. That's where joy comes from. If all of this makes you want to go back to sleep, well, you need to wake up. Because there's too much going on. That's where Black Rifle Coffee comes in. Black Rifle Coffee helps you wake up every morning feeling dialed in, ready to make the most of your day. Now's your chance to get 20% off your purchase with code DailyWire at blackriflecoffee.com. Black Rifle Coffee's explosive coffees are roasted right here in the USA by a veteran-led team of expert roasters who take pride in serving coffee and culture to people who love America. Every purchase you make helps them further their mission to support veteran and first responder causes. Everything from getting funding and equipment to first responders to helping veterans get medical care. Black Rifle Coffee has a huge selection of dark roast, light roast, and everything in between. Take the coffee quiz on their website. Get matched with a blend perfectly tailored to your specific taste. Again, a portion of every purchase you make with Black Rifle Coffee goes towards supporting veteran and first responder causes. Your money goes a long way toward giving back to those who serve the country. Head on over to blackriflecoffee.com right now. Use code DailyWire for 20% off America's coffee. That's blackriflecoffee.com, code DailyWire. Blackriflecoffee.com, code DailyWire for 20% off America's coffee. Movements that seek joy via politicians are generally really, really ugly. The joy is a cover for control. In fact, they mandate joy. It's mandatory fun. And that's how it feels with Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. It's mandatory fun. You must smile. It's like The Simpsons. They got the wires that connect to the corners of your mouth and pull them upwards. The joy will be required. And if you are not joyous enough, if you don't feel the joy, you're not doing it right. You understand? If you ask questions, you're violating the joy. If you want to know about the economic policies, don't you understand? This is a campaign not about policy. It's about vibes and joy. Do you understand? This is about whether Kamala Harris can dance. This is not about whether Kamala Harris has economic policies reminiscent of Fidel Castro. That kind of stuff, those questions, they destroy the joy. They destroy the vibe. You're wrecking the mood. You're totally wrecking the mood. And here's bad economic policy, bad policy in general. It is a longtime mainstay of totalitarians to paste over their evil and horrifying policies with a mask of joy. It is their favorite thing to do. It's literally a main propaganda point for every fascist and Stalinist regime, every single one. This is a poster of Joseph Stalin from the Soviet Union. And we all think of Joseph Stalin as like the stern man with the mustache who killed 20 million people. But actually, the way that he was promoted in the Soviet Union was with joy. Do you see all these smiling children around Joseph Stalin? The actual caption on this reads, "We are warmed by Stalin's affection." Do you feel the joy? Don't you feel the joy? Well, if you don't feel the joy, you don't clap long enough, he'll shoot you, but at least you feel the joy. Or maybe you prefer the joy of Mao. Again, this is how all totalitarian movements operate, is with the joy. It's the feeling that they're going to create in you by redistributing income, by taking things from some people and giving them to others. Give over your heart to the great leader, and you too will be part of the joy. This is the caption on this particular poster. This is a bunch of Chinese folks who are smiling, grinning as they carry around the red flag, and the words of Chairman Mao. And it says, "Mao's words bring joy," in Chinese. Right? And then, of course, there's a very famous poster for the Nazis. It's called Strength Through Joy. There's an entire program called Strength Through Joy. What was Strength Through Joy? It was economic redistributionism via the central government, and the government would then pay for you to take a vacation with your family. Free money. They would allow you to go to the movies sometimes. All they require is that you enlist in the Kraft durch Freude. My German is not particularly good. That means strength through joy. In the strength through joy, so much unbelievable joy, right? That is the thing that they're looking for. They are looking for you to feel the joy. And if you don't feel the joy, you are not doing it right. You are doing it very, very wrong. Do you understand? Stop asking questions. Stop asking questions. It's really bad to ask questions. In 1984, at the very end of 1984, the central character is indoctrinated into the cult of the Big Brother. And the final words are, of course, he loved Big Brother. He felt the love. He gazed up at the enormous face. 40 years it had taken him to learn what kind of smile was hidden beneath the dark mustache. Of course, written about Stalin. Oh, cruel, needless misunderstanding. Oh, stubborn, self-willed exile from the loving breast. 2 gin-scented tears trickled down the sides of his nose. But it was all right. Everything was all right. The struggle was finished. He had won the victory over himself. He loved Big Brother. That's the thing. Feel the joy. And if you don't feel the joy, it's because you are not sufficiently compliant to the wishes of the great leaders. Shut up about the policy. Stop asking questions about the policy. Feel the joy. Dance with Kamala. Laugh with Kamala. Feel the joy. In Brave New World, Aldous Huxley's novel about dystopian futures, in which he suggests a centralized government basically hands out drugs like Soma in order to keep people happy and guarantees sexual promiscuity for all. The one thing they forbid is familial relations. Familial relations are very bad because that might mean that you find joy in the things you're actually supposed to find joy in, namely the roles that societies and civilizations have typically treasured. Those have to be obliterated in favor of social stability, because if you can flatten out everybody into an atomized individual, subject chiefly to their own hedonistic pursuits, then all those people become tools of the centralized power. So the controller, who is sort of the spokesperson for this dystopia in Aldous Huxley's Brave New World, he says, mother, monogamy, romance, high spurts the fountain, fierce and foamy the wild jet. The urge has but a single outlet. My love, my baby. No wonder these poor pre-moderns were mad and wicked and miserable. Their world didn't allow them to take things easily, didn't allow them to be sane, virtuous, and happy. What with mothers and lovers, what with the prohibitions they were not conditioned to obey, what with the temptations and the lonely remorses, what with all the diseases and the endless isolating pain, what with the uncertainties and the poverty, they were forced to feel strongly, and feeling strongly, and strongly what was more in solitude, in hopelessly individual isolation, how could they be stable? So the purpose of the government in Brave New World is to flatten everything out, to turn everybody into an atomistic individual, subject to no family ties, no binding relationships, force all those agglomerated atomistic individuals together, and then call it a society. And the slogan that they teach everybody from the time that they are 5 in Brave New World is, wait for it, everybody's happy now. Everybody's happy now, don't you see? They feel the joy. They feel the love. Never mind that all the policies remove individual initiative, risk-taking, entrepreneurship, meaning, purpose, vision. Never mind all of that. What it's really about is feeling the solidarity of joy beneath the happy, smiling face of a great leader. And again, the totalitarians, they rarely come with the grimace and the promise of blood. They almost always come with the joyous smiles and the promise of a better world in which all risk will be alleviated, in which you will have to do less work, and in which the centralized government takes care of all of your problems. The jackbooted thugs rarely come with the stern fist of the father. They generally come with the warm smile of the mother, and then behind that is hiding the stern fist of the centralized government. Okay, in just 1 second, we'll get to Donald Trump responding to Kamala Harris's economic plans. First, today is the day, folks. Pre-sale tickets are available right now at miracist.com. We need you to go there and buy your tickets. This isn't just about watching a great movie. This is about sending a message. Our very own Matt Walsh, who has absolutely destroyed the left's gender ideology in What Is a Woman, went undercover as a DEI expert. Let me tell you, what he uncovered is so absurd, so intellectually bankrupt, you will be laughing and furious at the same time. Here's the thing, however. We need your help. The more pre-sale tickets we sell, the more theaters will show it. It's simple economics, supply and demand. You demand, they will supply. Your ticket purchase is a direct blow against the leftist narrative. Am I Racist? Hits theaters September 13th. Don't wait. Don't hesitate. Go to miracist.com right now. Buy those tickets. Let's show the culture elite conservatives can dominate at the box office as well. This is how we win the culture war, one movie at a time. Also, this Sunday, we are releasing a brand new episode of the Sunday Special with Dennis Quaid. You know him from his films like Breaking Away, The Rookie, The Parent Trap, and now most recently, his new movie, Reagan, which is about to come out in theaters. You should go see that one as well. It was a great conversation. Here's a bit of the trailer.
Republicans and Democrats need each other. That's what we don't admit, because we keep each other from going too far one way or the other. You know, the fringe is taking over. I myself, I'm an independent. I mean, I've voted both ways all my life. So I'm not a registered Republican. But once the judicial system was used on him, to me, that was messing with our Constitution. And that's not America. And that's what, got me back the other way, that I'm definitely voting for him.
Don't miss this awesome episode of the Sunday Special with Dennis Quaid. And meanwhile, Donald Trump is actually attacking the policy. So yesterday he did a big press conference in which he spelled out his opposition to her terrible inflation policies. And he makes a very obvious point, the point that nobody wants to make, which is we don't have to imagine what a Kamala Harris presidency would look like. She is the vice president right now. She may be the acting president for all we know. Here was President Trump yesterday. He was in Bedminster.
You don't have to imagine what a Kamala Harris presidency would be, because you're living through that nightmare right now, and it is a nightmare.
Okay, he is right about that again. She, Biden, the same. They're both machine politicians. The machine has just churned out one in favor of the other. Here's Trump slamming Kamala's blown-up economy.
When I left office, I handed Kamala and crooked Joe Biden a surging economy with no inflation. The 30-year mortgage rate was around 2%. Gasoline had reached $1.87 a gallon. We actually had many months where it was lower than that, but we hit 187, which was a perfect place, an absolutely beautiful number. Real income surged by more than $4,200 a year when I was president. Harris and Biden blew it all up. And if Kamala wins the election, the worst is yet to come.
That, of course, is absolutely true. He then slammed what he called her Maduro plan for price controls.
She's running on the Maduro plan. We call it the Maduro plan, like something straight out of Venezuela or the Soviet Union. This announcement is an admission that her economic policies have totally failed and caused really a catastrophe for our country, and beyond that, a catastrophe in the world.
I mean, he is right. He is right. And here he is slamming her communistic price controls.
Now Kamala is reportedly proposing communist price controls. She wants price controls. And if they worked, I'd go along with it too, but they don't work. They actually have the exact opposite impact and effect.
Okay, and he points out that the typical mortgage payment has tripled under Kamala Harris and Joe Biden, which, again, she is claiming she's going to bring down prices. We know what she's going to do. She did it, blowing money into the economy, redistributing income, higher taxes, lower growth. We know what she's going to do. This is not a mystery.
The cost of a typical monthly mortgage has doubled since I left office, and that number was about 3 months old from government, and now it's tripled. We had mortgage rates at around 2%, close to 2%, and they're now at 10%, and you can't get a mortgage.
And meanwhile, her vice presidential candidate, Tim Walz, in any normal media environment would be gone at this point. He is a disaster area. Every aspect of his record is a lie. Every single one. So the stolen valor scandal is not going away. It's not going to go away. He lied about his actual title in the military repeatedly. He allowed others to lie about him serving in combat zones in places like Afghanistan and Iraq. And here he was, when an interviewer wrongly said he served in Afghanistan, here he is nodding along just a few years ago.
Member of the Armed Services Committee and Veterans Affairs, Democrat of Minnesota, highest ranking enlisted soldier ever to serve in Congress. Enlisted in the Army National Guard at 17 and retired 24 years later as Command Sergeant Major and served with his battalion at Operating Enduring Freedom in Afghanistan.
And then he nods. He doesn't correct her. He just nods. Here's J.D. Vance, who actually was stationed in Iraq, talking about this.
Tim Walz said that he carried a weapon in war. He never went to war. Tim Walz said that he didn't know his unit was about to deploy to Iraq when even his own press release at the time said that he knew exactly that. Tim Walz claimed to be a command sergeant major, even had it printed on his challenge coins, and he knew he never achieved that rank. And now Kamala Harris, showing terrible judgment, has decided that her way out of this political problem is to claim that she and Tim Walz are the victims. I think the victims are the veterans who are having their service disparaged because the guy who wants to be their vice president is lying instead of telling the truth.
Okay, he is right about all of that. Meanwhile, new details emerging about his 2006 campaign lying about the details of his DUI in 1995. According to Andrew Kaczynski, who's a very good reporter for CNN, so when Democratic vice presidential nominee Tim Walz first ran for Congress in 2006, his campaign repeatedly made false statements about the details of his 1995 arrest for drunk and reckless driving. According to court and police records connected to the incident, Walz admitted in court he had been drinking when he was pulled over for driving 96 miles an hour in a 55-mile-per-hour zone in Nebraska. Walz was then transported by a state trooper to a local hospital for a blood test, showing he had a blood alcohol level of 0.128, which means he was basically made of alcohol. But in 2006, his campaign repeatedly told the press he had not been drinking that night, claiming that he failed his field sobriety test due to a misunderstanding related to hearing loss from his time in the National Guard. The campaign also claimed Walz was allowed to drive himself to jail that night. None of that was true. So, he's a liar. He doesn't just lie about everything. He didn't just lie about that. He lies about everything. Jordan Schachtel points out that Tim Walz calls himself, quote, the football coach at Mankato West. There's only a problem, which is that he was a volunteer assistant football coach. Remember that grand campaign rollout that Kamala Harris had where she basically treated him like Coach Taylor from Friday Night Lights? And it turns out he was an assistant volunteer football coach at the local high school. I mean, great. I'm going to learn next he was the bat boy for the baseball team that went to the state championship. Now that's real exciting stuff right there. Also, the Washington Examiner continues to dig into his relationships with radical Muslim groups. Quote, under Governor Tim Walz, the state of Minnesota awarded over $2 million to an Islamic group that fundraises for a charity linked to an al-Qaeda affiliate, according to funding records reviewed by the Washington Examiner. The Islamic Association of North America, the recipient of state grants from 2019 to 2024, is fundraising after Hamas's October 7th attack on Israel last year for Rahma Worldwide, a Michigan-based charity that says it is shipping humanitarian aid to Gaza. In a since-deleted Facebook post in October 2023, Rahma Worldwide president Shadi Zaza revealed his charity was collaborating on an aid initiative with the Islamic Heritage Revival Society of Kuwait, a terrorist group sanctioned by the U.S. government for funding al-Qaeda. News of the Walz administration's grants to the IANA comes as the Democratic vice presidential candidate faces backlash after a series of Washington Examiner reports revealed his ties to Muslim cleric Assad Zaman. As Minnesota governor, Walz has repeatedly hosted Zaman, who shared a pro-Adolf Hitler movie on social media and defended the October 7th attacks. He also referred to Zaman as a master teacher at a 2018 event. So again, in a normal media environment, Walz would be off the ticket already because he's a full-scale disaster area. But he's not going to leave the ticket because the media are in full-scale joy mode along with Kamala. How do we know, by the way, that they're in full-scale joy mode along with Kamala Harris? Because if you mispronounce her name, if you mispronounce Kamala Harris's name, if you say Kamala as opposed to Kamala, if you put the emphasis on the wrong syllable, that means you are a racist. That's what it means. We know that because Nancy Mace made that egregiously evil error while appearing on CNN the other night. Here was Nancy Mace getting herself into all sorts of hot water for making the big boo-boo. She mispronounced a name that literally 5% of the public knew before the last 10 minutes.
Kamala Harris.
Kamala. You said this.
We don't
call you Nancy. It's Kamala. You're doing this on purpose, Congresswoman.
Disrespectful.
You can't expect people to respect your service if you don't respect
and walked that stage 25 years ago, she would have said it. She would have taken that achievement away from women. That's disgusting.
No, the wrong syllable. Oh my God, she called her Kamala as opposed to Kamala. Clearly that was meant as a sign of disrespect. Clearly, respect the joy, respect it. Sure, her administration has been responsible for a horrific economic record, 40-year highs in inflation. Sure, her administration has set the world on fire, and the next administration would do far, far worse, considering that they are bending over backwards to kowtow to radical anti-Semites. All of those things are true. However, you mispronounced her name, Nancy Mace, you bad person, you. How dare you? By the way, Joe Biden literally called Donald Trump Donald Dump on stage literally last night. But here's Joe Biden.
Guess what? The guy we're running against, what's his name? Donald Dump or Donald, whatever. They want to get rid of this, what we passed. They're fighting to get rid of what we've just passed. No, I'm serious.
Donald Dump. But whatever you do, don't say Kamala. No. Vicious racist. She can say that all white people are only into tuna fish and mayonnaise. That's not racist at all. But if you use the wrong, these people, it's honestly, you vote for this, you deserve what you get. Alrighty. I do want to remind you, now is the time to go to miracist.com and get a ticket for Matt Walsh's brand new movie. Bring all your friends, bring your community. It is an opportunity for everybody to send a message to Hollywood that there ought to be more films in the theaters that actually reflect conservative values. Folks, you're going to want to check out Am I Racist? It's just great. Go to miracist.com to buy your tickets. Here is why. Here's a bit of the movie. It's hysterical.
The white participants in the group feel that there's something in themselves that they have to overcome, when all that's being requested of you is that you be. Hello.
Hi.
How are you? How are
Sorry
you?
about that.
Oh, no problem. You good?
Yeah.
Yeah. Remind me of your name again.
Stephen.
Stephen? Yeah? Okay. Did you want to come up?
Come up?
Yeah. Do you want to come up and share anything?
Sure. What do you want me to share?
Whatever's on your mind.
I just want to know that, my physical safety and yours and everybody else's here is okay.
Why would your physical safety not be okay? Did I miss something?
I don't feel comfortable.
What? Can you guys catch me up to speed on what's going on here?
You don't need to be caught up. We're going to be silent.
Is it because I said I had 17 black friends? It might have been 15. It depends on how you count them.
I would really appreciate it if you left so that the people who actually want to be here and deserve to be here can get what they need.
I do want to be
Can
here.
you please leave?
I would like it if you left.
I'm trying to learn. I'm on this journey.
Come with me.
Well,
thank you.
I didn't consent to be touched.
I'm not offering to touch you. I'm offering to walk you out. Will you walk with me and I'll answer your questions?
Okay. I'll admit it. My name's not Stephen. Maybe you already knew that. My name is Matt Walsh.
We know.
I was here on this journey that I'm just starting, but I see that I'm not wanted.
If you were on your journey, then you would have told us who you were, your real name, but you didn't.
Are you saying I needed a better disguise? Is that what you?
I don't know, maybe. But you can figure that out as you walk out the door.
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
Thank you so much. I really had the transformative experience myself. And my pronouns are he, him.
I did everything I could to fit in. I opened up. I was raw and emotional. I told them about my black friends. It was no use. They rejected me, and they called the police. My mere presence in the room caused them pain. I'll never be accepted if I look like this. If they know that I'm Matt Walsh, I'll always be an outsider. I need to go deeper undercover, a whole new identity. If I want to be an ally, I need to look like one. Like someone who is progressive, tolerant, enlightened. Let me think. Have I ever met anyone like that? Ah, yes. Yes, I have.
What is a woman?
Why do you ask the question?
Am I Racist? Rated PG-13. Buy tickets now.
Oh my gosh. Go check it out. AmIRacist.com. It is totally worth the buy. It's gonna be awesome. It's so good. Alrighty, folks. Coming up, we'll get into the latest iteration of anti-Semitism from the Democratic Party as Donald Trump fights anti-Semitism. If you're not a member, become a member. Use code Shapiro. Check out for 2 months free on all annual plans. Click that link in the description and join us.
Republicans are Nazis. You cannot separate yourselves from the bad white people.
Growing up, I never thought much about race. It never really seemed to matter that much, at least not to me. Am I racist?
I would really appreciate it if you
I'm trying to learn. I'm on this journey.
If I'm going to sort this out, I need to go deeper undercover.
They gonna say I'm racist. Joining us now is Matt, certified DEI expert.
Here's my certification. What you're doing is you're stretching out of your whiteness. This is more for you in this field. Is America inherently racist?
The word inherent is challenging
I
there.
want to rename the George Washington Monument to the George Floyd Monument.
America is racist to its bones.
So inherently.
Yeah, this country is a piece of
White.
folks,
White.
trash,
white supremacy.
white woman, white boy.
Is there a black person around here? What's a black person right here? Does he not exist?
Hi, Robin.
Hi, what's your name?
I'm Matt.
Just had to ask who you are because you have to be careful.
Never be too careful.
They gonna say you racist.
Buy your tickets now. In theaters September 13th. Rated PG-13.